Hey there, freaking awesome people. Winny here from Mind Now, and welcome back to Inspirational Mind, where we break down channels, interview people to gain their perspective on how you can master your mind to gain that self-confidence and self-esteem, especially as an introvert. But hey, if you're an extrovert, don't shy away. And today we have a special guest. It is Keshav. Thank you so much for being here, bro. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, bro. I was really surprised when you say let's do it. I was like, because, I always think to myself, which is kind of the wrong way of thinking, but when someone has like over 10,000 or 30,000 subscribers, you kind of feel like he's like a celebrity or something. I don't know. That's just how I feel sometimes. So thank you very much for giving me and giving us the time. So yeah, my first question and my favorite question is, how do you actually gain that self-confidence and belief in yourself?
To get onto YouTube, or do you mean just generally speaking?
Generally speaking.
So I think a lot of people they try to put self-belief and self-confidence first before taking any kind of action that they want to take. What you will notice is that with anything that you're trying to do, any endeavor that you're working towards, the confidence and the self-belief, sometimes it comes later on. It comes as a byproduct of taking action. On my channel, I've got like a free 1 hour course on confidence. And one of the main things that I talk about is that it's linked to your competence. So for example, if I start learning how to play the electric guitar and you ask me tomorrow to perform in front of, 5,000 people as a support act for like one of the biggest rock bands in the world, I'm going to be incredibly nervous. I'm going to have no self-belief. And I might, mess up. I might get, super like sweaty and like I get like all those symptoms of being nervous. But if I increase my competence at how well I can play, then I'm going to have more confidence because I've repeated that behavior so many times that I don't need to think about it. And that's why, one of the things that people mistakenly believe that practice makes perfect. Actually, practice doesn't make perfect. It makes permanent. So whatever you practice, whether it's a negative thought pattern, or rather to say an unhelpful thought pattern or a helpful thought pattern, that becomes permanent. That can either help you or it can hinder you. Now, the second thing when it comes to confidence is there are two types. And this, again, I mentioned in depth in the course. We do like a breakdown of Black Panther and how he displays confidence in the movie. But you have what's known as core competence and situational competence. Now, I'm somebody who has probably a high level of self-esteem and self-belief because some of those things also come, as you mature through the amount of experiences you go through, the amount of reference points you collect in life. Now, situational confidence is I am an expert at running marathons, but if you ask me to go and lift weights in the gym, I feel nervous. So my confidence is tied to a situation, a particular thing that I'm really good at. And what most people want when they talk about confidence, I think it's important to become more specific. When we talk about self-belief as well, it's not that you want core confidence. Core confidence is, I know, to everyone watching and listening, I absolutely suck at the electric guitar because I've never played. But if you gave me that opportunity and I had to perform in front of those 5,000 people, because I have that level of core confidence and I have a really important thing to go with it, compassion and self-acceptance, I'm going to own the fact that, hey guys, like I suck. So here's me just messing around. And I'll just enjoy that moment because I have that core confidence that I carry with me in all situations. And, if you're someone who's listening, you talked about this for introverts, especially, well, the good thing is when you learn how to become confident in one area of life, you can translate that across all areas because you now have those core life skills of, for example, for you to become a pro at running or in this example, electric guitar, you had to put repetition and practice in. You had to build habits. So you can use those things you learned from those experiences. And I use this with a lot of my coaching clients. What resources and skills do you have already that you can use elsewhere? So, whether it's, for example, you're building your YouTube channel right now. Let's say tomorrow you decide, let me get on Instagram and let me start scaling there. Well, you already have skills of building an audience on one platform. Now you can translate that to another because you realize it's about fundamental things, finding a USP, posting consistently, listening to your audience, like building a relationship, not being an asshole, like being authentic, and all of those things. So you can transfer those. So, it's like a circle, essentially, the way I view it. Like all of those points on the edge of the circle, they converge on the same center. So it doesn't matter where we start, but the key is like that we keep going, even if it's really, really slow, really, really like, you're not getting results straight away. So yeah, that when it comes to self-belief, I mean, I could talk about this for hours, but those are the core things to remember is that you've got to build self-acceptance, which generates self-esteem. You've got to try to build up your competency in a particular area where you want to be confident. And that's one of the things I always say when people ask me, like, how do I have more self-belief? How do I improve my confidence? Well, what do you want to be confident at and why? And how's that going to help you? So yeah, man, those are my thoughts on that question.
Awesome, man. Like you said, you need to have this core confidence, right? And you can only build that, like you've already said, like through experience and actually taking action. Obviously, you need to believe in yourself, have that self-esteem. So actually working on yourself first before you actually, take action. But, I think, like, to summarize it, you have to take action. That is, that is actually the end result, and that will actually bring you further wherever you want to go. Now, I always say, like, in order to have confidence, kind of like a cherry on top is like to have energy throughout your day and being positive. So what do you actually do to get that positivity or energy? Do you have like some sort of morning routine or evening routine or other activities?
I mean, I think, a lot of the people who might be watching this video, listening, let's be real, like you all watch and listen to the same speakers, the same YouTube channels, and I see you commenting all over the place. And I think everyone has this thing of they're looking for the hack, or they're looking for like, what's Keshav Bhatt's morning routine? Like, what's Jay Shetty's morning routine? What's Gary Vee's morning routine? What's Mel Robbins doing? The classic speakers that we all follow. My thing is, when it comes to any kind of habit or thing that you're doing, you have, again, different types. So you have like universal habits, but then you also have individual habits. So for example, I'm a social entrepreneur and I run a social enterprise called Revolution Hive, which equips young people for life beyond the classroom. So we go into schools, colleges, universities, and we work with thousands of young people every year, teaching them what the curriculum doesn't. Now, what I need from my day and the kind of energy, the knowledge, the focus that I need is different to what you need or anyone listening. So there are like the classic things that I do: cold showers, meditation, gratitude, all those things. But my routine looks very different to a lot of people's. Like, I've just come off the back of making daily videos since February, every single day, a 3 to 5 minute video, high quality. So one of the first things I was doing is I'd wake up and immediately start making videos. Immediately, like get up, brush my teeth, and that's it. Have my coffee, and I go straight into that, because I find the way that my evening routine is set up and the way that my energy works, I wake up with ideas and like in straight away. And one of the things I had to realize, and you can hear this on my podcast if you go on my channel, is I spoke to other entrepreneurs, and one big thing I realized is like, stop following what everyone else is doing. Test and try things for yourself. Like, I'm a big fan of lean methodology, so build, measure, and learn, and then find out for yourself, what is my energy like throughout the day? What are my weak areas? Where am I trying to grow right now? Like, I've been focusing this year on just one platform, and that's YouTube. And that's the reason why as soon as I wake up, I'm on the game. Like, I'm trying to sharpen my sword every day, because, you said, yeah, like you got 30,000 subs, but again, to be honest, I don't like to like front about anything. If you look at my last like 50 videos, only one or two of them have gone past 500 views. So that's information there. It's telling me that, you know, I'm either posting too much, or I'm not promoting well enough, or there's something that I'm missing and that I need to do so that I can tweak it, because my audience, for some reason or other, is not responding to that. So again, you know, maybe that's the challenge that I face. And so in order to stay positive, I need to focus on the big picture. So like right in front of me, you can't see this, but on the wall, every year what I do, and I got this from a guy called Clark Kegley, Refusing to Settle. I'd highly recommend you get him on this podcast or this series as well. And I was thinking about this at the same time. So I saw that he was making this massive, like, I can't even describe it, as like this A0 size calendar of his entire year. And at the beginning of the year, he'd fill the whole thing in. That's it. It's on paper, it's locked in. So I was thinking about that the same way, that a lot of us, we create vision boards, we create a goal for a year or even 3 years. But then, you know what? Life happens. And then some marketer approaches you and says like, yo, you want to learn my new LinkedIn strategy? Or, hey, do you want to get a job here? And you get distracted. So you lose focus. And so in order to combat that, I was like, I need to see this thing every day so that I don't get lost in the short term, in the dirt, as Gary Vee says. But I keep my head on the big goal. Like, what am I working towards? So when I look at my view counts, for example, everyone wants to have, like, I'll be real, I want to have 1 million views. Like, who doesn't? Who doesn't want to get the gold YouTube button and they're everywhere going viral like some of the people you follow? But I had to realize, and this is what I'm dedicated to, is what am I building towards long term? Like, what is my legacy? What are the things that I want to do in my plan? Like, one of my favorite rappers is Logic. And the reason I love Logic is, one, his work rate, two, his flows and his content, but three, when he releases an album, he's already planned like the next two. So he leaves Easter eggs. So when you go back and listen to album 1, you're like, oh, that links into this. We all love Avengers Endgame as well, because the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they planned things out. Like when they released Iron Man, they created little options, little Easter eggs, so that, okay, if later on we want to create the Avengers or we want to bring in Nick Fury, we can do that if we are successful. So this is the power of, at the end of the day, it's just like having a vision and keeping it clear in front of you. So, in order to keep myself positive, that's what I keep coming back to, is to be cliche and copy what everyone always says, is like, follow your why. And I'll be honest, like, the reason I'm saying it that way is because I'm kind of tired of everyone repeats these mantras that all the successful speakers say, but like, I'm big on being a practitioner rather than like knowing as much theory as I can. And it's a trap that far too many for people fall into. So yeah, when it comes to morning routines and positivity and all those things, is like, you should always know your outcome. You know, when I did my NLP training and I became a neuro-linguistic practitioner, that was one of the first things that we learned, is always know your outcome. So again, if someone asked me, like I said before, how can I be more confident? Well, what were you trying to achieve? Similar to, I get a lot of people messaging me asking, what book should I read? And I'm like, I don't know, bro. Like, like, you could read Malcolm X's autobiography, or you could read Doing Good, or you could read Gary Vee. I don't know you, so I don't know what you should read, because in life, we become what we consume. Like, what you read, you become. What you do, you become. So it's always knowing, like, who am I trying to become? President Obama, highly recommend everyone listening, go listen to Becoming by Michelle Obama, and you'll get an inside look at first black president. What was he doing when he was my age, in his mid-20s, late 20s, to become president? And he didn't have a vision to become president, but he was spending every single penny he had on books, on knowledge, on like really dedicating himself. There's a really cool story of him and Michelle had gone on holiday, or they were in a hotel somewhere, and she was reading a book and she looked up and she saw him really deep in thought, like looking a little bit stressed. And so she asks him, like, honey, are you okay? What are you stressed about? And this is what, whatever your political views are, I just admire this conviction and this sincerity. He said, oh yeah, I'm just thinking about income inequality. And wow, like this person, he's not a senator yet. He's nobody. He's just a lawyer and a college professor. But he was already dedicating his spare time to thinking about social issues. And regardless of whether you think Obama was right or wrong, or you're left or right, whatever, it doesn't matter. We can learn from everything. And that's what I want everyone listening to understand is like, yeah, you can do cold showers. You can do Wim Hof breathing. You can do Vipassana meditation, bioenergetic meditation. You can follow what Elliot Hulse tells you, what I tell you. But all of those things, they don't matter at all. Because it's not what you know, it's what you do. And you only know what to do when you know, who am I trying to become? I'm trying to become someone who inspires more social entrepreneurs, social reformers, leaders. So there are certain moves I have to make. And I'm trying not to be a chess piece. I'm trying to be a chess player. So yeah, that's the way I try to approach it is, going from those things, keeping my fundamental habits there. So things like, meditation, and if at any point as well, I think it's important to not become dogmatic. So, I don't always take cold showers, but if I feel like, hey bro, like you're getting a bit soft and you need to be uncomfortable now and like push yourself, I might do it. Similarly, last year I spent the entire year sleeping on the floor. I got rid of my bed, got rid of my mattress, just a pillow and a blanket, and I would sleep on the floor because I wanted to have that humility of, I'm growing fast right now, but every day I want to come home and I want to remember that you are the same as everyone else. You're not better than anyone. You're not more talented. And you have to work twice as hard now because what got you here is not going to get you there, Keshav. So again, like, that's something that I did to help me be positive, but it may not necessarily be something everyone needs to do. It's just knowing like where you are on your journey. And, the analogy that I love using is, and I got this from Mario Tomic, one of my friends who's also on YouTube. Again, get him on this podcast. Is like, when an aeroplane takes off and it's flying from London to California, it has a destination. Similarly, when we set a goal, we have a destination. But along the way, that aeroplane makes hundreds of micro adjustments along the way to ensure that it reaches its final destination. So you have to also be sensitive and self-aware enough to realize, okay, I need to pivot a little bit this way. I need to pivot a little bit this way. So yeah, man, that's what I would recommend to anyone listening.
Yeah. Wow, man. Wow, that was so thorough, and I was like so into what you're just saying right there. You got to be like really, really self-aware. I love that, man. Like, everyone's unique, and like you said, everyone keeps on repeating the same thing over and over again. And now I think people kind of think like, oh, that those are the only things that you have to do in order to become successful, but it is wrong, right? We're all different. And so I love what you said there, like, take something, do it, experiment it, and then see if it works for you or not. Like, that is what will work at the end of the day, right? Now I actually want to talk about this topic, which is kind of controversial, and this is the law of attraction. I want your take on that. Do you believe that, or have you implemented in your life, or yeah, what's your opinion on it?
I think the law of attraction has its place, like with anything. And I think here's what I'd recommend to every single person that is listening or watching. Anytime you hear somebody encouraging you to think in a very black and white way, be very careful. Be very careful. And the reason for this is because we know that life is full of nuances. No one is 100% bad and 100% good all of the time. Even the greatest people in the world, like Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, if you look into their lives, there are also things that are, that they have their critics, and there are things that are like, Martin Luther King, he had a mistress. Mahatma Gandhi, it said like he used to sleep with 13, 14-year-old girls to try and see if he would fall into temptation. And, if you look at Indian politics, even with partition, like people criticize him, like a guy called Ambedkar. You can go look into these things. So nothing is wholly black and white. Now, when we're talking about the law of attraction has its place, but I think where people have become misguided is in forgetting the importance of taking action. And one thing that it is not useful for is, if I am a refugee from Eritrea living in the UK, it's a little bit disrespectful even for you to say to me, just think positive and positive things will come. Because there are those people in the world who face far more challenges than you and I. We have Wi-Fi, nice, microphones and equipment and all this stuff, right? If I lose all my money tomorrow, I have the privilege of, I come from a stable family where multiple people would be able to support me. If I'm an orphan who's disabled from Bangladesh, like, it's a little bit, it's not just, it is about mindset, 100%, but it's also about taking action. And so this is where sometimes, I think self-help needs to meet social kind of awareness and action, and like where the context of people, where they're living in. So that's one thing that I'll say with the law of attraction is it comes from a very wealthy, upper middle class place of like, okay, yeah, think positive and you attract that. But and what a lot of people forget is like, yeah, think positive, but you know what's better than thinking positive? Taking positive actions, bro. One of my most viral videos, the main thing that I said to people, when you're going through a breakup or a tough time, you can't think yourself out of a negative situation or a negative psychology. If it were that simple, don't you think that refugee from Eritrea or that disabled kid in Bangladesh would just go, or that person who has depression and like genuine mental health issues? And I think those aphorisms and those ideas come from a very well-intentioned place, but they're not always appropriate because, like I said earlier, everyone is unique. And the number one thing that we can do to serve our own empowerment is to take positive action every day, to measure the impact on that, on our intention and our goals, and then adjust accordingly. And it's far too easy for anyone to pick up a camera or an Instagram account and share like a quote from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or from Eric Thomas. But it's far more difficult to actually educate ourselves and become aware of like psychology and sociology and all of these different factors, politics, even religion, and how all of these things come together to affect the individual. So yeah, I think like it's kind of like when I look at the law of attraction, it's kind of like a very basic understanding of trying to create change in your own life. And I think a much more radical approach is even just approaching it from a place of how can I take positive action? Because, something I learned from Tony Robbins, again, the messiah of the self-help movement, is, it's your life comes down to the quality of your questions and your thinking. So if you improve the questions you ask, instead of asking, how can I think positive? Instead ask like, what positive action can I take today? Because I'm depressed and I've been self-harming and I have no money in my bank account and I feel like I'm just average in my university class and my life is going nowhere and I want to achieve something, but it's not happening. Well, okay, what's one positive thing you can do? And again, positivity is defined so, it's so subjective, right? For some people, it could be making an impact on the world. For some people, it could be, and there's nothing wrong with this, making a bit more money so that they are more financially secure. So yeah, when I hear people talking about anything cliche, to be honest, anything that comes from a place of trying to virtue signal and sound positive I think we have to be very careful because, unfortunately, I realize this now. Like, sometimes the people on some of these people that we watch on YouTube or Instagram, for example, they're not who we think they are. And, it's very easy for me to show you a very pretty view of what I want you to see, but we don't know what's happening beyond the lens of the camera, what's going on behind the scenes, what kind of dirt and filth is accumulated in someone's heart or their mind or their soul. And we can only take responsibility for ourselves. So yeah, man, like, I wouldn't pay too much attention or worry too much about like the law of attraction. Average people major in minor things, to quote Tony Robbins again. And for me, like, law of attraction, I don't worry about that. I just worry about like, what's the best I can do today? How can I work hard today? How can I work towards my upliftment and the upliftment of others? And that's simple enough for me. And I don't try to worry too much about all these other things that are going on. Because again, what glitters isn't always gold.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you on that, man. Again, I think it always comes down to taking action, right? I mean, like, always thinking about the positive things and writing the things down, what you want to get. I mean, you cannot just sit there and write things down and it will come to you. I mean, it's just not how it works, right? I mean, Gary Vee had to really take action in order to get where he is, and every successful people, right? So yeah, now before we actually get to the last question, how can people connect with you further, bro?
Yeah, man, if you want to email me, you can email me support@keshavbhatt, KESHAVBHATT.com. If you want to like really chat to me, like, email's a good place, because then we can actually, it's kind of like writing letters. I like emails and hearing from people. Other places, Instagram.com/KeshavBX. I'm posting daily on that platform right now. YouTube.com/KeshavBX, posting weekly every Monday at the moment. And then, Facebook as well. Again, if you just search for KeshavBX, you'll find me. So yeah, all of the usual channels. And then I've got a podcast as well, which, I'm sure you'll leave a link in the description and stuff. So yeah, I'm just, yeah, man, if you just Google me, you'll find like my TED talk or my website and all that stuff. I'm a big believer. Like, if you want to find me and you want to chat to me, like, I'm approachable. You can message me anytime and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can.
Awesome, man. Yeah, that is really nice of you, man. When I got your message or your email, I was really surprised and was like, man, this guy is cool.
bro, like, at the end of the day, man, look, like, who gives a fuck about like subscribers, innit? Like, who cares? If we meet on this, like, just outside, like, I'm happy to go gym with you. We train together. We go get some food. We go for a long walk. Like, I'm just a human being, right? I'm just trying to use this platform to do something good and share what I know. I make a lot of mistakes. I'm trying to work on myself every day. And I really don't buy into that whole thing of like, yeah, man, this person's deep. And I'm just not a fan of like celebrity culture. And even when I've met like Eric Thomas and Gary Vee, I was like, yeah, this guy's just like a person, just like me. They got 2 hands, two legs, hopefully 2 eyes, all that stuff. So, I think it's important not to get too caught up in, like the view counts or even just praise and criticism, because at the end of the day, like I said, everyone's on their journey, and I'm trying to progress every day, and I'm trying to like improve what I do and the impact that I make. And, I have something to learn from you and the person that's listening and watching. Like, I'm not complete by any means. I'm just hungry to learn, like all of you. And that's why we are congregating around this idea and this topic of how do you master your mindset. And the person who's watching this, like, let's be honest, innit? In the scheme of things, I'm no one. So you must really be dedicated to listen to some random brown guy with a beard and a YouTube hat, on a random, like spending like 30 minutes listening, because your time and attention is valuable. So we congregate around this idea because we realize that we can't control what goes on outside, but we can control what goes on in here. And that takes a long time. Like, it's so hard to really, be focused for the whole day, or to be, positive in every negative situation, or to remain stress-free. You know, I get stressed sometimes, I get negative sometimes, but I'm just trying to work every day to improve like a little bit, man, and help other people do the same. So for me, yeah, please don't feel like I'm above or below. I'm just a friend and a brother to everyone listening, and I just really enjoy talking about something that I wish more people talked about, and that is, yo, stop complaining, like master yourself, stop looking outside for the change you want, like look inside, because everything is there. And some of the most powerful experiences I've had have been literally me sitting in that corner over there in my room and just meditating. There's no guru, there's no Gary Vaynerchuk video, there's no nothing. It's just I'm focusing on my breath. How amazing is that? Like every human being has access to that. And that's what I believe in, is like let's focus on those things, because the world needs more leaders right now. And the problem is that the people who, it's not that it's not that change makers don't exist or positive people don't exist. It's that the people who are ignorant, who are shallow, hollow, full of their own self-interest and ego, they are making all of the noise. And the people who are reasoned, have common sense, who are just cool people, they're quiet, they're like zen. And because we don't feel the need to like do that sometimes, but I think we need to stand up and speak out and make sure that we share our voice, because it's valid. And like, you giving me the opportunity to answer these questions today and speaking to the people you're talking to, even if you get 1,000 views across the 10 interviews you've done, and I know you've got more because you interviewed like Charisma on Command, etc. Like someone's gonna gain something from that, man. I gained something from that interview, so you made a difference to me. So that's what it's about.
No, thank you, man, bro. Like, I swear to God, I just got chills, man. Like when you said like at the beginning with how you make mistakes and so, and like on my channel, like obviously it is about self-help and so, but I document every mistake that I make, bro. Like, because I want to be as honest as possible. And like you said, we're humans. We make mistakes. There is nobody on this planet that doesn't make mistakes. I mean, I haven't met one yet, but it would be boring if everything was perfect, because then there are no challenges, then there are no obstacles, and there's no reason for you to fight, right? When you like overcome this one problem or obstacle, whatever, you feel like kind of like an accomplishment, right? And in my case, like I still have some things that I have to work on because of my childhood, also with self-esteem has gone much better, but it's still not 100%. And I'm like completely honest on my channel because I want to be transparent. And even though when you watch, like for example, you telling me all of your honest thoughts, and you being really authentic, saying that you're not perfect, you make mistakes and all of that, you resonate with that more than if someone like is like totally perfect and stuff. You're like, what, are you even human, man? Like obviously for some it might resonate, but at the end, I think authenticity is really key. So yeah, that's my add on that, and I really appreciate that you said all of that, bro. So yeah, now we come to the last question, which is, as you know, my YouTube channel is all about mastering your mind to gain that self-confidence, self-esteem. So what was that one revelation, one activity that has helped you the most in regards to mastering your mind or mindset?
I think so many things, man. Like with anything, I'm not like, how that saying, it takes a village to raise a child. I think it's the same like with me, with you too. Like I have a whole ecosystem behind me. My grandfather, who migrated from East Africa to the UK in the 70s in a climate of racism, discrimination, and started from the bottom, that helped me get where I am. My mum and my dad, who sacrificed so much so that I could have an opportunity in life and a good education. All of the teachers, gurus, the books, all those things. But if I were to pick out one that I think has been the most useful long term is a couple of years ago, and I do this every year. I went on a meditation retreat. It's completely free. You don't have to pay anything. And it's called Vipassana meditation. I spent 10 days there, and every day you wake up at 4 a.m. and you have breakfast at 6, you have your lunch at 11, and then you don't get any more food. And you spend about maybe 12 hours per day meditating, and that's it. There is no talking. There is no books. There are no courses. There's nothing glittery or gold or fancy. No special chanting or mantras, or just spending time with yourself and introspecting and being in the moment and learning to be mindful. And even though I didn't have anything external guiding me necessarily beyond just the technique of meditation, I gained so much from that experience. I learned that sometimes I'm a very judgmental person, and sometimes my thoughts go all over the place, and sometimes I get bored. Sometimes I get distracted. Like sometimes I have lustful thoughts. I have thoughts about food. I have thoughts about this person said this to me, and it's like, you know, all over the place. But when I had the discipline and the community and the environment to just sit, let's just sit, man. Ease creates and urgency destroys. We live in a very fast-paced material world, but we don't have to be of that. Like, we can be a part of the world, but not of it. Like a traveler visiting different countries. So for me, that experience taught me to slow down, to pause, and not to let every thought that passes overwhelm me, and not to react to every single thought, but to watch it like a cloud in the sky, just drifting by. And that was a really powerful experience for me. And yeah, bro, like I cried at the end of it, man. I didn't want to leave. When they lifted the noble silence and said, "You're free to go now," I wanted to stay there. I didn't want to leave, because I realized that after taking everything away, all my friends, my phone, my habits, all these ideas of this script of who I thought I had to be and how I wanted life to go, and just sitting with myself, I realized like there's so much inner work for me to do just with me. Now, if I bring in everything else, like, how am I going to do that? And it was a beautiful experience, man. And I think the most wonderful thing in the world is that it's totally free to anyone, anywhere in the world. Anyone. Like, the way that it's funded is at the end of the course, you can donate some money for people who are going to sit in the future, and you can pay it forward. And so the whole time I was there, I didn't even know this, and this is the best thing. We talk about service and giving value so much. This is like some other level of giving value. My place, my stay, my food was paid for by previous meditators. And the whole time I was there, volunteers had come to cook, to clean, to wash the toilets. And I didn't even see those people. Also, that while I was there, I could do this work, this meditation, without having to worry about those things. I could just focus on me, you know? And somebody gave me that gift, and I'll never know who they are, but I'm indebted to that whole idea and that philosophy. And again, what I love is like, it's not about religion. It's not about you need to be Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Jain, whatever. It's just like learning to be with yourself, using your own tools, like what you're born with, right? So I like that because it's very universal. It's very accessible. It's very authentic. And like I said, yeah, it taught me so many lessons. And yeah, I'm going to be going back there again soon. I want to do a month-long sitting as well. So that whole thing, like 30 days of silence and meditating 12 hours a day, to see what other insights, you know, and things I can learn and how I can grow as a person. So yeah, for me, mastering your mindset, you know, that was really like me and my mind going toe to toe, man. And then, you know, also realizing that it's not a battle. You're not trying to force your mind to do anything. Just sit and things will unfold as they will. and learn to be still amongst all of the drudgery and darkness of the world.
No, beautifully said, man. I'm also a huge advocate of meditating. I also do meditate myself, even though I would love to also experience that meditating, for 12 hours. I think that would be like, wow, like really life-changing. I can imagine how it would be, and I think maybe down the road I will try it once as well. But it has helped me a lot as well to kind of see who I really am, what my thoughts are saying, and why I actually have them. And when you get to know yourself, you will know how to actually cope with these problems and solve them as well, and not just blaming others for it, but actually really analyzing who you are, and that is really important. Anyway, dude, bro, thank you so much for being here, man. I really hope that you enjoyed it. And for those of you who are listening and watching this, I hope you enjoyed it as well. And what was your favorite advice from Keshav? Do leave it down below in the comment section. And remember, guys, that you are freaking awesome and that you can do it if you put your mind to it. Winny out for now.